The handsome man, dressed in black, knelt on the steps in front of the temple, clutching the hem of Maggie's blue robe, his eyes tinged with red.
Maggie, don't leave me.
Maggie, now known as Serenity, fingered the sandalwood beads, looking indifferent.
Ahmed Bah, please return, sir. There is no one named Maggie here. My monastic name is Serenity.
She slightly bowed her head in a gesture of respect, pulling the hem of her robe from his grasp.
The Bodhi tree is not a tree. The bright mirror is not a stand. Originally, there is nothing, so where can dust alight?
She walked away slowly, her voice echoing in the vast emptiness.
You can do anything to me. Just come back.
Hearing this, Serenity stopped abruptly.
Really? As true as it gets. If I'm lying,
Sure.
that's enough.
She stepped forward and pressed her finger to his lips.
Did you drive here?
He nodded. Serenity took off her monk's robe, removed her hat, and dragged him towards the car.
Ha! You still can't escape from me.
She turned the steering wheel and whistled at John Williams. He flinched and blushed.
Humph. Let's see how I deal with you today.
Serenity unlocked the door and kicked it shut behind them. In the hallway, John Williams was gasping for breath from her kisses.
I never thought a man's lips could be so soft.
As their breaths intertwined, his breathing became more erratic. Overcome with emotion, he pushed her away, his face flushed.
Losing my balance, we rolled onto the carpet.
As they kissed, her hands began to wander.
This guy sure has a lot of hair.
When she opened her eyes, she saw a sight she would never forget. A wolf shook its head and emerged from John Williams' shirt.
Oh my God, I was scared out of my wits.
The wolf howled and she went limp.
Stay back.
She commanded with a trembling hand, trying to intimidate it. The wolf wagged its tail and obediently sat down, looking at her with big, hopeful eyes. Noticing the black earring on the wolf's ear, she was taken aback.
No way? No way? John Williams?
How?
She scrambled to cover its mouth with her hand.
If it held a couple more times, I'd be in big trouble. This breed was probably a protected species.
She mused, stroking its soft neck.
If this were made into fur, it would be worth a lot.
The wolf, no, John Williams, shivered slightly, lowered its head and whimpered.
The lamb chops in my bowl were poked full of holes by my fork as I stared at John Williams, who, despite being a wolf, was eating with remarkable elegance. I couldn't wrap my head around it.
Confused, how is this even possible?
As a staunch believer in Marxist materialism, I found myself deeply reflecting on why I was seeing such a creature.
Thinking, wait a minute. Does this mean I actually married a wolf?
The story began 5 months ago. In the depths of winter, the snow outside was falling as heavily as Jay chose singing, "Waiting for You After Class."
Chuckling, this show is hilarious.
I had the heater on, snuggled under my quilt, munching on a sweet potato, and laughing so hard at a show that I burned my lips. While applying ice to my lips, there was a sudden knock at the door. When I opened it, there was no one there.
Annoyed, who's playing pranks at this hour?
I frowned, about to curse, when I felt a tug on my pant leg. Looking down, I saw a half-conscious beggar lying on the ground.
Weekly, help me.
He lifted his face before passing out. On the sofa, I brushed away the hair covering the beggar's face.
Astonished, oh wow, this face is way more handsome than Jane Johnson's peacock of a boyfriend.
So handsome, I thought. If only he were my husband. I wiped away my drool and tucked him in.
Waking up, benefactor.
Confused?
He said I had saved him before. I wondered if I had ever given money to such a handsome beggar.
Solemn, I want to repay you.
Raising phone, sorry, I need to take a call.
I walked to the balcony.
Over the phone. Linda May, listen up. If you don't bring a boyfriend home for the new year, I'll be very disappointed. Got it?
Nodding and bowing, yes, Mom.
If I didn't, I wouldn't get any sleep tonight.
Gripping phone tightly, you want to repay me?
Nodding obediently, yes.
On the living room sofa, my mom was holding John Williams' hand, laughing heartily.
Oh my, these hands, broad and big, full of blessings. And this hair, so thick, unlike your dad's.
What bald head? Who said I'm bald?
Go, you old man, just cook your dishes.
Taking advantage of this moment, I squeezed myself in between them, separating the two. If this continued, my future husband would surely run away.
Don't be afraid.
With you here, I'm not afraid.
Oh my, so cute, so handsome.
Come on, John, have some food.
Yes, eat up, don't be shy. The dishes your uncle made are top-notch.
At the dining table, the meat in John Williams' bowl was almost piled into a mountain. Seriously, who's the real child here?
John, where are you from?
I knew this question was coming. Luckily, I had prepared him in advance. To deal with my parents, I had specially rehearsed with him. Although he was quite handsome, he seemed a bit slow-witted.
Where are you from?
The desert.
Which desert?
The Taklamakan Desert.
What do you like to eat?
Deer, raw. The faster they run, the better they taste.
Forget it. Respecting others' habits is a virtue.
What do you usually like to do? Playing with mice, they're very interesting.
The more he spoke, the more absurd it got. No carbon-based life form would do such things. He's not human. He's my god. I had to stay up all night to prepare a set of information for him to memorize. Though he was eccentric, his memory was excellent. In less than 5 minutes, he memorized all 10 pages perfectly. Great, no need to worry. Our future children's intelligence would definitely not be lacking. John Williams answered fluently, earning frequent nods of approval from my parents.
It's settled then.
And so, John Williams and I got our marriage certificate and tied a knot. For a while, I was the center of attention, envied by friends and relatives alike. After all, handsome men are hard to come by, and such a handsome man is even rarer. Most importantly, John Williams treated me exceptionally well. So well that I felt ashamed. During meals, he would meticulously peel every shrimp for me. Every piece of fish he served me was guaranteed to be free of bones. He would spend a long time preparing a bowl of rice to ensure there wasn't a single grain of sand, so my teeth wouldn't suffer any harm. Heavens, I must have saved the galaxy in my past life. How did I deserve such a wonderful husband? Later, I realized that perfect people don't exist in this world, especially men. John Williams is quite an odd person. One night, I woke up needing to use the bathroom and noticed the refrigerator door was open. After closing it, I caught a glimpse of someone hiding.
Who's there?
To my astonishment, John Williams was crouched in the corner, gnawing on a large piece of raw lamb, his face smeared with what looked like blood. The sight made me faint on the spot. I ended up in the hospital, with a fever that lasted a whole day and night, nearly frying my brain. When I woke up, John Williams was by my bedside, pressing his face against my palm, tears streaming down like a waterfall.
I'm so sorry. I'll never eat raw meat again, I swear.
Honestly, it wasn't a big deal. I could get used to it. After all, he treated me so well, and it wouldn't be fair to take away something he enjoyed.
You don't need to change your preferences for me.
No, I insist. I won't touch raw meat again.
Such a good man is hard to find, even with a lantern. Ever since John Williams moved in with me, I felt something was off. In my dreams, I often heard howling, like a lone wolf crying to the moon in a TV show. Each time I woke up, my heart would race with fear.
John, have you heard any howling at night?
His eyes darkened, and he insisted it was just a nightmare.
It's just a bad dream, nothing more.
Many times on my way to work, I would see dead mice and bats in the neighborhood's green areas. Some of the older residents, with their superstitions, said something unclean had entered our area.
John, do you think there's something supernatural going on around here?
His face would change, and he would become sullen, refusing even his favorite chicken drumsticks.
Please, let's not talk about that nonsense.
I assumed he didn't like hearing such things, so I stopped mentioning it. But these weren't the real issues. The main problem was he wouldn't let me touch him. Is that reasonable? We got our marriage certificate, had a wedding, met each other's families, and everything was consensual. Isn't it natural to fulfill marital duties?
John Williams, do you like me?
Yes, very much.
Then why won't you get close to me?
He stammered and just said it wasn't possible.
It's just not possible.
Every time I tried to do something, his reaction made me feel like a rogue in a bandit den.
We can take our time. Not kissing, I can tolerate. Maybe you have a slight cleanliness obsession. But not touching, what is that about?
Even if I touched a stranger, they would at most give me a dirty look. But John Williams? If I tried to touch his abs, he'd jump up, run to the bed, and wrap himself up like a burrito, eyes full of caution.
Why must I be tormented by seeing, but not being able to touch?
The mystery of John Williams continued to baffle me.
Tara Carter leaned close to me, her eyes darting towards John Williams, who was peeling potatoes in the kitchen.
There's something wrong with him.
Her words echoed my own suspicions. I recalled our wedding night vividly. I had dressed in lace, semi-sheer lingerie, hoping to surprise him. But instead, with my shoulders half exposed and my clothes halfway off, John had turned bright red and dashed to the bathroom, locking the door behind him.
John, come out, please. I promise I won't touch you.
After much coaxing, he finally emerged, but the pattern continued. Whenever a romantic scene appeared on TV, he would make an excuse to leave the room.
Why does he like the bathroom so much? It's highly suspicious.
Tara, married for 3 years and quite experienced, pulled me aside to share her insights.
Sometimes men have their own insecurities. Maybe he's just too embarrassed to admit it.
Her words made sense, but it didn't lessen the frustration I felt. One day, with a romantic movie playing, John, as usual, excused himself to the bathroom.
Am I really that unattractive?
It felt like a personal slight. My mind was racing with thoughts of forbidden romance. In my imagination, I had confronted John countless times, leading to dramatic scenes. One such imaginary confrontation left him fainted with a nosebleed in the bathroom.
Young people can have fun, but there should be limits.
The doctor's words were mortifying. After that incident, John avoided me even more. He acted like I was going to devour him. The worst was on Valentine's Day. Watching couples holding hands and kissing made me incredibly envious. I sat on a bench, pouting.
John, kiss me. Please.
I can't.
The warm lights and romantic music only heightened my sense of injustice. I cried loudly, feeling utterly wronged.
Please don't cry.
That night, in a desperate ploy, I declared I would become a nun.
I'm done. I'll become a nun.
To my surprise, John took the bait. But then, things took a strange turn. He transformed, revealing a different side I had never seen. Holding the sleeping John, now seemingly like a wolf, I felt like I was dreaming.
You want me to hold you while we sleep?
He howled twice in response. I pulled him into the bed, covering his mouth. It was strange, yet it was the first time he was so proactive. Early in the morning, Maggie screamed, terrified. There was a naked man lying in her arms.
John Williams, get off the bed and get dressed before we talk.
John, on the other hand, was calm and reluctant to let go.
Sure, Maggie.
After he dressed, Maggie summarized her thoughts.
So, you're a wolf spirit? When you get close to me, you revert to your original form, and you're afraid I won't accept you, so you've been resisting my advances?
Yes, yes.
No wonder he disappeared halfway through their last kiss.
I actually enjoy being close to you.
Stop.
No wonder the howling at night, the unfortunate mice and bats, and John's peculiar habits all made sense now. But not being able to get close was a serious problem. It concerned her future intimate life.
Is this a curse?
A passing which took a liking to me, and when I didn't reciprocate, she cursed me.
He lifted his shirt to reveal a mark on his lower back, a dark rose. Unbelievable.
Does this happen with everyone you get too close to?
I don't know.
Tara Carter, holding a sulking John, turned to Maggie and asked weakly,
Is that enough?
Maggie tapped John's hand with a carrot.
Hold tighter.
An hour had passed, and there was no change. Maggie later tried Tara's husband, James Brown, her nephew in kindergarten, and the neighbor's cat, Ahwa. Finally, she concluded that he only reacted this way with her. What a problem.
After a whole day of this, I don't know whether to be happy or worried. Does this mean I'll have to sleep with a wolf, kiss a wolf, hug a wolf? Come on, I'm not that wild.
While Maggie was fretting, John was sulking. He wouldn't respond when she talked to him, just sat on the floor drawing circles with his finger.
Are you upset?
Maggie squatted down and poked his cheek with her finger.
You can't kiss me, I'm mad. How could you let me hug other women, even men? I'm yours. I can only be close to you, only hug and kiss you.
As he spoke, his eyes reddened. Maggie was stunned for a moment, not expecting this little wolf to have such a strong sense of belonging. Her heart suddenly softened, a strange warmth filling her chest.
Yes, you are mine, only mine.
Then, the next second, Maggie got a mouthful of fur. Hey, Jane Johnson's birthday party, are you going? Tara Carter's mischievous voice came through the phone.
Of course, I'm going.
Jane and Maggie went way back, having been classmates from elementary through high school. But Jane was incredibly vain, always flaunting her looks and comparing herself to Maggie, who was well-liked. She used to mock Maggie endlessly for being single. This time, Maggie could finally hold her head high. True to her style, the party was as extravagant as ever. Under a massive crystal chandelier, Jane Johnson wore a tight golden mermaid dress, arm in arm with her boyfriend, smiling brightly.
Linda May, long time no see. Let me introduce you to my boyfriend, oh no, my husband, Jack Smith. He just returned from abroad. You're welcome to join our wedding next month. Hey, I heard you just got married. Don't settle for less. My husband's company has many eligible bachelors. How about?
The noisy surroundings suddenly fell silent. At the door, John Williams stood in a sharp black suit, long legs straight, high nose and deep-set eyes, his dark curls slicked back, revealing a smooth forehead. His slender fingers held a plastic bag as he walked towards Maggie. This outfit cost her a month's salary, but it was worth it.
Maggie, I wasn't sure which one was right, so I bought them all. 275 millimeters, 245 millimeters, cotton, mesh, you name it.
He explained to her, oblivious to the stunned gazes around them.
Let me introduce you.
She hooked her arm through John's.
My husband, John Williams.
In the corner of the sofa, I laughed like a fool. It was so satisfying. Jane Johnson's face turned green when she saw John Williams, especially since her overseas boyfriend couldn't take his eyes off John Williams the entire time.
Hey, if you don't do something, your husband is going to be taken away.
I blinked my drowsy eyes and saw John Williams standing with a blank expression, blocked by a tipsy woman at the restroom door. The woman was dressed provocatively and her actions were extremely flirtatious.
How dare she make a move on your man?
In a fit of rage, I rushed over and poured red wine over the woman's head.
How dare you touch my man, get lost.
The woman got angry and grabbed my hair, and we started to tussle, causing quite a scene. Seeing things getting out of hand, John Williams pulled the woman away and, with a slight nod to the stunned crowd, hoisted me over his shoulder.
Sorry, we'll be leaving now.
Put me down. I need to teach her a lesson.
The hard surface of his shoulder was uncomfortable against my stomach, and I squirmed in protest.
All right, you're the toughest, he said, draping his coat over my waist.
In the back seat, John Williams gently set me down and straightened my dress. Probably due to the alcohol, his face, so close in the confined space, looked particularly tempting. The slightly open collar revealed a small patch of skin that was incredibly alluring, and a wave of heat surged within me. As he fastened my seatbelt, I grabbed his tie, pulled him down, and mischievously kissed his Adam's apple. John Williams couldn't help but let out a muffled groan. A few seconds later, he returned to his usual self. I stared at the wolf sitting beside me, wondering how to stuff it into a sack and sell it. With that size, no one would believe it was a dog.
Fresh and sweet Chatillon pomelos selling cheap, $2 a pound.
That voice was truly everywhere.
Hey, do you sell sacks? I rolled down the car window.
Hey there, young lady, where are you from?
The chatty driver noticed the sack at my feet.
Heading back home? What local specialty do you have?
Ha ha, pomelos.
So many, can you finish them all? Give me one, will you?
I'd rather give you a big slap. Please stop talking.
The driver was quite enthusiastic. After parking the car, he insisted on helping me carry the sack. Seeing the situation, I gritted my teeth, hoisted it onto my shoulder, and ran off. This thing is really heavy. I'm worried to the point that my hair is turning white. When will this ever end? I thoughtfully covered John Williams' key areas. No point in looking if you can't have it. I searched everywhere, Baidu, Zhihu, forums, tried all sorts of bizarre methods, but nothing worked. He still transforms, that cursed witch. It used to be John Williams who was always on edge, but now it's my turn. He tried to hold my hand, but I slapped it away.
I'm scared, John. What if you suddenly turn into a wolf? They'd take you away for research.
But John was persistent, insisting on holding my hand.
Just one finger, okay?
John Williams had strikingly handsome features. When he was expressionless, he exuded a cold, aloof aura. But when he pleaded with that pitiful look, he seemed so fragile and endearing, with his long eyelashes and clear, bright eyes. He was the kind of person you'd be afraid to hold too tightly, for fear he might break.
How did you grow up like this?
My heart was melting. John hooked his little finger around mine, smiling like a goofy husky. As we walked, my stomach started growling. In the hot pot restaurant, the fragrant beef tallow broth bubbled away. John thoughtfully prepared the dipping sauce for me, cooked the meat, and placed it all on my plate. Only then did he start eating himself.
Goodness, what a perfect gentleman. But don't forget, he's a wolf. Oh no, I think I'm falling for him even more. Ah.
I picked up a piece of lamb and gestured for him to open his mouth. John stared at me, his ears turning red. As he leaned in slightly, his lips parted, revealing his small, sharp canines.
Why are there such adorable wolves in this world? What is this overwhelming sense of happiness?
I was hooked, feeding him meat continuously. I felt like I had discovered a new world.
What's wrong?
On the way back, I noticed him glancing back frequently and felt puzzled. He shook his head, a hint of sadness flashing across his face.
Maggie, you go home first.
He placed the keys in my hand.
Where are you going?
I lost my earring. I'm going to look for it.
It's just an earring. If it's lost, it's lost.
What's wrong with him? Such a tiny thing, it's impossible to find.
You gave it to me.
It's very precious to me.
Moonlight filtered through the branches, and the evening breeze brushed against our clothes. His eyes sparkled.
Thump, thump. Whose heart is beating so fast?
Maggie, if one day I lied to you, would you forgive me?
In the dark room, John suddenly asked out of nowhere. I tugged at my heavy eyelids and turned over.
No. I'd turn you into wolf sashimi.
What I didn't see was the deep sorrow in his eyes, so thick it couldn't be dispelled.
Who did you see today?
He took my bag and sniffed my neck, his expression changing.
No one. Oh, right.
Now that I think about it, while waiting for the bus after work, I felt a burning gaze on me. I couldn't stand it and glared back. A pair of extremely beautiful eyes met mine, seductive and bold, reminiscent of burning flames, but not very friendly. As she passed by, she bumped into me without apologizing. I was about to confront her, but the bus arrived. Otherwise, I would have taught her a lesson in manners.
I'm going to buy some soy sauce.
John took off his apron and left.
Hey, Maggie, come quick. Your house has been robbed.
Tara sent a photo. Under the streetlight, John was tightly embracing a woman.
Damn it, going to buy soy sauce and pulling this stunt.
I stormed to the scene, only to be pulled aside by Tara.
Impulse is the devil. Look again.
John had his back to me, and I couldn't see his expression. He said something, and the woman smiled brightly. She looked somewhat familiar. Isn't she? The woman who bumped into me. Suddenly, John leaned in and kissed the woman's neck. The woman looked up, locked eyes with me, and smiled provocatively. I don't remember how I got home. My mind kept replaying the intimate scene between John and that woman. For the first time, I doubted love. Growing up in a harmonious family, I had always believed in the existence of true, unwavering love. However, reality hit me hard. Whether human or animal, that laughable emotion was so fragile. As the night wind blew, Maggie found herself hiding under the children's slide in the park, trying to wipe away her tears. She prided herself on being strong, but tonight her emotions overwhelmed her. Suddenly, a familiar voice broke the silence.
Maggie, what's wrong?
John Williams had returned, reaching out to support her. His affectionate demeanor only heightened her confusion and disgust.
Get away. Don't touch me.
She shoved him hard, causing him to stumble. As she continued to cry, a shadow fell over her, and she was enveloped in a warm embrace.
Maggie, listen to me, please.
His voice had a calming effect, making her pause.
Her name is Diana Moon.
He began to explain, telling her about Diana Moon, a childhood companion from his early wolf years. They both transformed into humans after a meteorite fell in the Taklamakan Desert 10 years ago.
I couldn't protect her and I feel very guilty.
Then why didn't you tell me?
We had a relationship, Maggie. But rest assured, that was during my wolf years. Now, there's nothing between us.
Then what did I see?
John Williams tried to explain earnestly.
Maggie, have you ever watched wildlife documentaries?
He asked seriously, explaining that what she saw was a wolf's way of expressing anger, biting out of frustration.
She said some bad things about you, and I got very angry.
The tension eased and Maggie relaxed, laughing as she flicked his forehead.
John Williams, remember, you're my man. No matter the reason, you can't act like that with anyone else.
Okay, I promise.
He nodded vigorously.
Did I save you?
Don't you remember?
John Williams seemed frustrated with her forgetfulness. Maggie recalled a distant memory of her dad taking her to the Taklamakan Desert, where she had released an injured wolf pup, unaware that it was John Williams.
How did you find me?
By scent.
She was astonished by his persistence and the hardships he must have endured.
Stupid wolf.
She hugged him tightly.
For you, it's worth it.
He kissed her hair.
Maybe the secret lies beneath the curse mark.
Maggie's mom believed in mystical things and had a fortune teller read her future. The fortune teller had said her husband would be extraordinary. Under the red candlelight, the fortune teller scratched the rose mark on John Williams' back.
When the moon is full, the red will reveal.
Could you explain that?
The fortune teller squinted and rubbed her fingers together. Maggie understood and paid her. 3 days later, on a full moon night, John Williams handed Maggie a skewer of roasted meat.
Maggie, if the curse can't be broken, what will you do?
By the campfire, he turned a potato with tongs.
John Williams, listen carefully. You belong to me, Linda May. If you try to run, I'll break your legs.
The flames danced and her gaze was firm. John Williams pouted and lunged at her, only to be pushed away with a slap.
Maggie, wake up.
She rubbed her eyes and saw the clouds parting, revealing the bright full moon.
Are you ready?
Yes.
She cut her finger and smeared the blood on the curse mark. Under the moonlight, the rose mark glowed faintly, revealing small words.
Love and desire run counter to each other. A brave heart never says die.
Wow, your English is pretty good.
I picked up a bit while interacting with people.
They realized their love had no solution and would remain platonic unless they found the meaning of being brave. They tried various things, including brave love and overcoming John Williams' fear of bugs, but nothing worked.
Maggie, I'm sorry, I'm really useless.
On the bed, John Williams covered his eyes with the back of his hand. Maggie ruffled his hair.
Stupid wolf, you're already amazing.
If I can never turn back into a human, what will you do?
Then I will make you into a specimen.
Sure, as long as I can be with you.
He leaned down and licked her palm, his face full of desire. Diana Moon unexpectedly came looking for Maggie, offering money to leave John Williams.
Leave John Williams, and you can name your price.
Maggie almost choked on her coffee.
$1 million, will you take it?
Diana Moon pulled out a card from her bag.
3 million, no password.
Maggie was unimpressed and stood up to leave.
Miss Diana Moon, you're straightforward, but I'm sorry, that offer doesn't tempt me.
Maggie noticed John Williams becoming increasingly clingy. It had only been half a day since she left home, and he had already called 10 times.
Excited, Maggie, guess what? I caught a mouse today.
Sometimes he would boast about housework, asking for her praise.
Proud. I did all the housework. Aren't you proud of me?
Her colleagues at the office teased her, their teeth aching from the sweetness.
Teasing, Maggie, come home soon, he misses you so much.
On the other end of the line, John Williams was breathing lightly.
Worried, are you sick?
Soft no.
Concerned, then why are you breathing like that?
Hesitant, Maggie. I think I'm in heat.
Stunned.
She was stunned.
Nervous, what should I do?
Pleading, you come back quickly? I'm really uncomfortable.
Maggie hung up the phone, her face burning. On the way home, she kept searching for ways to deal with an animal in heat besides mating. Suddenly, under the flickering streetlights, a sharp pain hit the back of her head, and everything went black. When she woke up, she was tied up in an abandoned warehouse, her mouth taped shut. A well-dressed woman, surrounded by men in black, walked towards her. It was Diana Moon.
Angry, what I can't have, you won't either.
Maggie could only squirm, unable to curse her.
Desperate. Maggie. Maggie, where are you?
In the distance, John Williams was breathing heavily, his figure swaying. Diana Moon laughed coquettishly.
Seductive, John, you're here.
She threw herself into his arms, only to be pushed away.
Cold. Where's Maggie? Tell me now.
Diana Moon signaled to the men in black, who quickly surrounded Maggie. She led John Williams over.
Seductive, John, you're in heat, aren't you?
She tapped his chest, her fingers playing with his hair.
Struggling, get lost. Don't touch me.
Despite his strength, in such a weakened state, he was still captured.
Persuasive, John, wouldn't it be nice to be with me? Only someone like me can meet your needs.
She let her outer clothes fall, leaving only a thin layer of underwear, and leaned close to him.
Tempting, I have a lot of money. If you stay with me, you'll enjoy endless wealth and luxury.
Calm, all right.
Diana Moon was overjoyed, but Maggie's heart sank.
Decisive. I want to say a proper goodbye to Maggie.
The tape on Maggie's mouth was torn off, and she cursed.
Angry, John Williams, you son of a.
A warm kiss silenced her words. It was John Williams' first time kissing her, his kiss rough and domineering.
Muttering, focus.
Before she could push him away, he transformed into a wolf, using his sharp teeth to tear through her restraints. The wolf's combat power was formidable. The crowd had never seen such a scene. Some thought they had seen a ghost and fled in terror. John Williams led Maggie out of the encirclement. A sharp knife came at them, and in a critical moment, he turned and lunged at her. Blood gushed from his back, staining her dress. Police sirens wailed outside. Nearby residents had noticed something was wrong and called the police. Diana Moon and her group were all captured. John Williams was sent to an animal hospital for emergency treatment. Fortunately, many of the assailants had a history of substance abuse, and no matter how vividly they described it, the police didn't believe the absurd story of a man turning into a wolf. After giving her statement, Maggie rushed to the hospital. Outside the emergency room, she cried her heart out. The next day, older woman cries for wolf made the news headlines. Thankfully, the rescue was successful. During his recovery, John Williams was temporarily held at the Animal Control Center. Behind the glass door, he pawed at it desperately, looking at her pitifully. Even the staff laughed, saying the wolf liked her. Looking at the photos of John Williams smiling foolishly on her. Sure enough, the moment he saw me, he started eating.
How could someone treat themselves so poorly?
I glared at him with resentment, but he just grinned and ate happily.
Stupid wolf.
Thanks to him, we got to see each other every day. Once he recovered, he was released into the northern forest area of the Greater Shingon Mountains in Inner Mongolia. I insisted on accompanying him. Before leaving, I mentioned wanting to spend a few days touring Inner Mongolia. After the staff left, I went to the place where I had arranged to meet John Williams.
John Williams. John Williams.
As night fell, my vision became a bit blurry.
How?
In the snow, a beautiful gray wolf tilted its head and, upon seeing me, pounced. A wolf and a human, we rolled around in the snow, laughing and playing loudly. He licked me without restraint, covering my face with slobber. The long-lost warmth seemed to melt the ice and snow. It didn't matter if he was a wolf or a human, I thought. I gently kissed his shiny black nose. A sudden flash of white light almost blinded me, and I instinctively closed my eyes. The texture under my hand turned into smooth human skin. When I opened my eyes, a familiar face came into view. Tears welled up in my eyes, and he reached out to wipe them away.
Silly, I'm back. Why are you crying?
I bit him in frustration, but he wasn't angry. He extended his long arm and pulled me into his embrace. The familiar scent filled my nostrils, and I happily nuzzled against his chest. Wait, I seem to have forgotten something.
He was naked.
Blushing, I jumped up in embarrassment. The next second, he pulled me back onto his lap.
Help! Help! Help!
He gripped my waist and buried his head in my neck, nibbling gently. The tingling sensation made my whole body go limp.
Stop, not here.
Oh?
Then where? Here?
My waist sank, and the shameful whimpering almost made me want to disappear.
Oh my, did that sound come from me? The thought of doing something so embarrassing in this deserted place made me want to punch John Williams on the spot.
He wanted to continue, but the intense shame made me kick him away. He covered his face, looking quite hurt.
Let's go to the hotel.
His expression changed immediately. He put on my coat and, smiling, picked me up.
Hey, you can't transform now. Maybe it's not the right time yet. Then what if? Why don't we try and find out?
With that, I blushed from head to toe, curling up in his arms like a quail. All right, after some experimentation, it turned out he was lying. He couldn't transform at all. Can someone tell me why wolves have such strong stamina? I couldn't take it anymore. My whole body was limp. But he wasn't done. He grabbed my ankle and dragged me back.
I hate you, John Williams.
The end.